Hello and welcome to Love Talk, and today we're going to be talking about life after rejection. One way or the other, everyone faces rejection sometimes in their love life. It's bound to happen.
Yeah, but people react to it in a very different way. Depending on the person, depending on what happened, it can be very difficult to overcome that past experience.
Exactly, and that's exactly what we will be talking about today. If you've been rejected in the past, you're going through a rejection right now, or you're trying to recover from it, hopefully the program today will help you to get back up and move on and learn how to deal with this experience.
That's right.
Let's see what the people of London have to say about this.
I think, yeah, definitely. Even as like primary school memories are flooding back.
Well, I was living in Japan at the moment, and I fell in love with a Japanese guy, and well, he said he liked me too, but I think he was really lying, but he was too polite to tell me the truth. So he asked me out, but he never kept in contact, so it's just sort of ended there. So I suppose that's my rejection story.
There was one time where I really liked a girl, and then I had to pluck up the courage to ask her out, and I kept seeing her on a night out, but I didn't really know who she was. So on a night out, when I was drunk and I could actually get the courage to meet her, I went up to her, and when I said, "Hi, what's your name? I see you out everywhere," she was not English, so I couldn't speak to her. So I guess I got rejected in a bit of a rubbish way, because she couldn't officially reject me.
My confidence is fine. I've been rejected for 28 years, so doing good, thanks.
So we touched on earlier the fact that at some point everybody in their love life faces rejection. Either, when you're in college, at school, you approached that first person you liked, and then you said, "Look, can I buy you an ice cream?" or something like that, and maybe you heard a no. I think that happened to everybody, right?
Yeah, and even those little experience, since we were very little, we can still remember. I'm sure you can remember when a girl said no to you for something.
Yeah, I don't know. Can.
This is something, it's a different kind of rejection. I know that rejection in general is not a positive thing to go through, but it seems like when it's to do with our love life, our feelings, then it marks us even more.
And of course, as you get older and relationships get serious, because when you're at school and, that first, they call it puppy love, it's different. But when relationships do get more serious, how do you deal with that? After you've been rejected, perhaps, betrayed, how do you deal with that? Actually, we have an email that I'd like to read out here. Someone wrote, I'm not going to read her name. It says, I recently arrived in the UK. I felt alone, and after finishing a relationship a year ago, a friend of mine introduced me to a friend who had a girlfriend in Colombia, which I didn't know at the time, and we got together. When I found out, I felt vulnerable because I was subscribed onto a dating website. I received an email from a nice guy who I'm dating at that moment. So I imagine this is after. She was disappointed, but then she was subscribed to a dating website, and she's now dating someone. We are on date number 10, and we have so many things in common. It feels like we have known each other for a lifetime. However, when I asked for his Facebook, I saw that in his profile picture, he is with his ex-girlfriend. Plus, in his information, it states he's in a relationship. Later on, I found that he has a tattoo of his ex-girlfriend's name, which he told me he's erasing. Then I told him, I will tag you on Facebook in our new picture, and he said, okay. But then I told him, please change your profile picture of him and his ex, but he didn't. This is making me feel insecure about him. I haven't made a scene because he was in a relationship for 6 years, but if you decide to move on, I think he should just be ready for a new relationship. So it's difficult. I don't know how much this has to do with rejection. In a way it does, and I think you have to be really careful, because once you start a relationship with someone, if you go on 10 dates, you're probably not yet on getting married terms, but you can say that things are developing, right? And certainly if the person still has pictures of him and his ex on Facebook and everything, then that should send some alarm bells ringing.
Yes, if by date 10 you don't know if you like the person or not, I mean, you should know. So we assume, well, probably she assumes that he's interested in her.
Yeah, no, but she said that it goes on to say that they do get on really well and they're happy when they're together.
But he doesn't want to take the picture out of...
We don't know. Well, the thing is this, I mean, I actually want to point out something very important here. We hear all the time people saying, oh, I'm dating this person and it feels like we've known each other for all our lives. She said this here, and this is something we hear a lot.
Yes.
And you cannot be deceived by this, because when you get on with someone and you enjoy each other's company, you sort of feel like this. But you may feel like you know the person for a long time, but you don't.
You don't. You know, actually, the kind of situations that, I don't know if that's the word I can use, the environment that they've been meeting is like you know, it's not even a dating environment. It's like going out for dinner, you know, that very first stage where people really want to please the other person, and they don't really talk about very serious, deep things. So that's why maybe things are really wonderful.
Yeah, and of course, you know, it doesn't take much for you to say things that please the other person.
Yeah, it's very easy.
Especially if you're a man, you know how to say to the lady, look, you look so nice today, your hair looks amazing, you lost weight, all these things.
And well, probably she came from other failed relationships, that's why she's trying again. So when you hear something like, even the sound of your name sounds good. Women, we like, you know, the sound of our name already sounds good. Imagine everything else.
Now, going back to rejection, although I don't think there is a fail-proof way of not being rejected, but if at the moment you are trying to recover from being rejected or disappointed by someone, the best thing to do is to try to put that behind your back. I mean, if you were rejected, whatever the reason was, there may be a lot of reasons for this, you know, you need to try to find a place in your past where you can put that and forget about it and try to move on. Do you agree, Lynn?
I agree. And you know something interesting that I was thinking about the whole thing about rejection. Rejection, I don't know if people at home will agree with me, but it has a lot to do with how you see yourself. Because if you are so confident, if you know who you are, what you want to achieve in life, and then suddenly someone does something to you and you feel rejected or, you know, deceived or betrayed or whatever, I believe it's all rejection related. But if you have this thing, you know what, he's lost. I can do better than this. You know, it's always painful. I'm not saying it's not, but it's also a frame of mind on how you see yourself and how you feel.
That's right. And of course, if you say, well, James, what if it wasn't his loss? What if it was me that made the mistake and I caused that rejection to happen? Then the thing is, you learn from your mistakes. Right? I mean, the only thing you can do with your past is, if you made a mistake, you learn from that and you move on. The more you cry over spilt milk, the more you get upset about it, the worse it becomes. You are just making that situation to drag on. So here's the thing, if you have been rejected, if it was your fault, if it wasn't, you need to find a way to put that behind your back and to move on. Okay?
I agree.
There is no other way to do it. It's like removing a Band-Aid, or we call it a plaster here in the UK, right? You need to do it as quickly as possible. And once it's done, that's it. The healing process has happened and you can now move on. Okay? We're going to see what's happening in the celebrity gossip world, and we'll be right back.
Edward Norton and Shauna Robertson are not only proud parents of a new baby boy, but the low-key and very private twosome are also happily married. Norton and Robertson quietly got engaged back in 2011, following a 6-year courtship, and the pair also secretly tied the knot back in 2012. She gave birth to the couple's first child together back in March, and the two are thrilled and excited for parenthood. Congratulations to the both of them. Gretchen Rossi and Slade Smiley have a reason to celebrate. In Touch Weekly reports the couple are engaged. Going against tradition, the Real Housewives of Orange County star decided to propose to him on top of the AT&T building in LA, an insider tells the tabloid, adding that it was a surprise and of course the proposal will be televised. She had him flown up there via helicopter for the dramatic proposal. The wonderful lives of these celebrities keep us on the edge of our seats. Engagements, pregnancies, what else do they have in store? Till next time, stay fabulous.
Welcome back. I want to read now to you a very, very difficult email to answer. And we received a very difficult email here. And I want to read it to you. It has to do more or less with rejection, but we were discussing this here, but in a different way. So yeah. I'm going to read it here. I won't read the name as well. But actually someone wrote this on our Facebook. She said, "Hello, Love Talk. I have a very nice man in my life, but I have a hang up with something he said. He admitted to me that he thought another woman was pretty, and the only thing he could see wrong with her was her teeth, her smile. I was pretty hurt by this and can't seem to get over it. I don't know if I like the fact that he checked her out so intensely. Does this mean he was just drawn to this one particular girl, which I don't really like the idea either? Or do I need to worry about every good-looking woman? I really care about him and love him, but I don't like insecurities in a relationship. Please help me make heads or tails of this. Is this something I should just let go? Does this mean he is not content with me? Is he truly in love with me? Can he truly be in love with me and be able to do that?" Well, there's a lot of questions here.
We
right?
wish we had all the answers for you.
Yes, it's about 4 different questions here. And the thing is, unless we can read his mind, we don't know the answers for this. Now, this is the thing that we do know, okay? Women, and Elena can back me up on this, she'll give her point of view in a minute. Women, they do tend to exaggerate things in her mind and make things in their mind.
Yes.
They read between the lines, and sometimes there are things between the lines to be read, but sometimes they do make those things bigger than they are.
But that happens only, if I speak for myself, when we don't talk about how we feel.
Exactly.
We just keep it all inside and we are like, oh my God, but should I speak? But maybe he's thinking this or that.
But this is exactly the point I was going to make. Okay. Because women have this tendency to blow things, I won't say out of proportion, but to imagine things. Although sometimes they have reasons to think like that because there have been problems in the past. But if you have these questions, was he really checking her out? Was he making a harmless comment? It's important that you ask him this.
It's important that this friend that emailed us, actually, she emailed us, sits down, chooses a good time. You have to choose a good time. Sit down and talk to him in a mature way, not in a childish way.
And don't let it turn into an argument.
Exactly. Just a conversation. You are looking for answers. So for you to find the answers, you need to ask questions. Not shout, not make assumptions. You need to sit down and ask, listen, this is happening, this is how I'm thinking. Am I exaggerating, or is it in my mind? Tell me.
Yeah. But also, I mean, you have to see, because I don't know if he made a harmless comment. I don't know if he was really looking at that woman. We don't know. You also need to see if there's insecurities from your side, right? Because when a person starts thinking too much like this, it may be that there are insecurities, and we don't want to speculate, but it's a possibility as well.
From past rejections, or from past failed relationships, or simply because women, we tend to be very insecure naturally. So then it's a matter of you starting to, value yourself more. I'm not saying you don't value yourself, but, know that you have value. Don't be so insecure that if he was to leave you, you are like, my God, my world just finished here, right here. No, of course, we don't like to lose the person we love. We don't. But see if you understand what I'm trying to say. And also, only you can examine, after that conversation, think about the signs. What have you seen when you are with him?
And of course, I mean, if that was the case, that he was looking at the person with second intentions or not, then it's something that you would have to work on to solve that problem, okay? The example that Elena gave of a person leaving or not leaving, that's a bit of a drastic example, but you need to be confident, believe in yourself. Now, this brings us to the other part of rejection. What rejection usually does to a person who suffered with that, that leaves scars, okay, depending on how long that relationship was going on, how serious it was. It may be that there are scars there, that you've been hurt in the past and now you're trying to get over that. If this is the case, you need to work on building yourself, your confidence. And just because you've been rejected once, it doesn't mean that you're going to be rejected every time.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you've been rejected many times before, what happens? You have all these negative feelings inside of you, which to a certain extent, I mean, it's understandable, but what do you need to do? It's like, picture yourself, if you've been rejected a lot, picture yourself going through life with a very, very heavy suitcase that you don't need, but you can't help it, it's there with you. That is full of insecurities and other negative feelings, and the more you choose to keep them, the heavier the suitcase will be, and the more obstacles you will have between you and your future new partner.
Yeah, and the thing is that when a person is rejected, usually they start making a list of the possible reasons why they were rejected. So they say, well, maybe it's because I'm too tall, I'm too short, I'm too fat, too slim. And the thing is, you could say whatever reasons there are, but there are people, there are couples who have those things that you put there on the list and they're happy, right? They get their marriage to work and they're happy. Possibly, it wasn't any of these things that you wrote down. I mean, if you know what the problem was, you made a mistake, like we said in the beginning, you can correct that, right? But it's not something to do with your appearance, and you can go and make yourself look the most beautiful woman or man in the world, handsome man in the world. But if that were the solution, the models of this world, they'd be happy.
Yeah, the actresses and everything,
Exactly.
and they are not that happy. We can all see.
Look, we have a perfect example in the late actress Elizabeth Taylor, who got married, we don't know how many times, and she was once considered probably the most beautiful woman in the world. So beauty can attract attention to you, but it does not mean that you're not going to be rejected.
Yeah, I agree. So this, this thing of this subject of rejection has a lot. There's many ramifications, many layers. It depends very much on your case, on what you've been through, how you think, what you think of yourself, what you think of people, how sensitive you are. But anyway, I would like to invite the viewers at home, if you have any questions that you would like us to answer, you can email us on lovelab@lovetalkshow.tv. Okay, we will not mention your name. Please, you can make it clear that on your email. We'll be happy to give you a hand. I mean, as much as we can, we will give you a help.
Now, Elena and I, we did something very interesting. Just recently, we went on a canoe ride, and Elena was petrified, right?
As usual.
She didn't want to go on that no matter what, but we eventually got her in, and although she wasn't really rowing, she was just pretending. It was a nice afternoon, and you can have a look how it went, and perhaps you can either do this with your partner as well. We went to the Herts Mariners Club, and we want to invite you to see how it went. Hi, we're here at the Herts Young Mariners Base in Cheshunt, and we're going to do a little bit of canoeing now. And this is something you can do on an afternoon, Sunday, Saturday, even during the week with your partner. And even if your partner is a little bit scared, like Elena here, right?
But I'm going to give it a try.
Good.
Okay.
Good. So.
And it's also very good for you to talk, have some quiet time together.
And as you will see through the scenery, very peaceful. So we hope you enjoy it and that you come and try it at some point.
Yes, really worth trying.
So here's another suggestion of what you can do with your partner on an afternoon, a morning off. And you even saw Elena overcoming one of her fears.
Another one.
Once again. So we'll see you back in the studio. Thank you for watching. Now, you that saw those images there, you saw Elena in the canoe and how nice it was, but you have no idea how hard it was to get her in there.
You have no idea of the persuading behind that little
Exactly. It was the producer, the camera woman, myself. It was hard, but
the woman was trying to hold the boat with a rope, so
but eventually you enjoyed yourself, right?
Yeah.
In the end, she didn't want to leave. And you know, relationships are a little bit like this. You see, you had two people in the canoe, and you have to trust that the other person who's there with you, she's going to help to balance the canoe. Actually, it's a little bit shaky in the beginning.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, I was really stiff to make sure I wouldn't make the...
And you see Elena there with the paddle, but she wasn't really paddling, she was just pretending. It was my strength, right?
That's it.
But the thing is, in a relationship, two people make it stable. Now think about this. If one person makes that canoe to rock, the other one's going to go overboard as well. If one person goes overboard, I guarantee you the second one's going to go in as well. If you want to make a relationship work, then you have to work together with the person to make it stable. And if you think, some people say, James, but I'm not the problem. It's her problem. But my friend, if the canoe goes, if it turns over and if she goes overboard, you go overboard as well.
Yes, it's never one person's problem only. Because, you know, we always advise everyone who watches the show to communicate. And we mean that. Yeah. You have to talk. It's never just my husband's problem. Because if he doesn't want, there's an expression in my language, which I don't know how to translate, but it's like this. You know, if one is a bit angry, if you want, you can calm him down by not saying anything. Just waiting for the right moment to speak. And this is how it goes. You need to see, you need to talk, you need to sit down from time to time. Now you might say, oh, but it's boring. Well, it's called maturity. And this is how your relationship is going to go, you know, a long, long way.
So here's the thing. If one person in the canoe is starting to rock the canoe a little bit, right? If there's an argument brewing and you feel the canoe shaking, then just settle down. And wait for things to cool down, and you settle the ship a little bit, because when that person comes down, at least nobody went overboard. Because once the person goes overboard, then the damage is done.
Yeah. And you know, relationships are not as difficult as people think it is. What is more tricky, what is the trickiest part and the hardest, I would say, is for you, when you're looking for the right person. Once you find the right person, you just need to work at your relationship every day. Pay attention at signs and talk things over.
And of course, once you find the right person, that part is hard as well afterwards to maintain things.
Yes.
But take the example of the canoe and learn to steady things, to steady the canoe, because guess what? As long as you steady the canoe, you'll be bone dry. You want to go into the water, and that makes things a lot better, right? Remember, if you've been a victim of rejection, overcome that by putting that in your past. Make it part of your past, and I'm sure that very soon you're going to see that there will be a positive change in your relationship. Okay? Until next time, have a wonderful night.